reading manga on the Nintendo Switch. Alright. I'm gonna need some coffee before this one, that's for sure. Alright. Let's dive into it. Comics in general are not a new thing in the digital space. In fact, you probably have heard of a lot of the big players within the digital manga or digital comic sphere, such as Comixology, Bookwalker, or perhaps even the Crunchyroll app or the Viz Media app itself. Now, while I do have a video coming out that will focus on those bigger companies in the digital manga space in general, I want to focus on a movement that has been happening on the Nintendo Switch where reading manga has becoming more of a thing, and I think it deserves a little bit of our attention. So focusing on today's video, I want to take a little field trip away from our normal type of content here on the channel to go visit the Nintendo Switch community here on YouTube to see what waves we've been making as a manga community over there. How would someone read manga on the Switch if they wanted to? Why would anyone read manga on the Switch? How much does it cost? What series do they have? And of course, is it even worth it? Well, I paid the entrance fee to find out for today's video, so let's go on a little adventure together. But before we go ahead and jump on into today's video, I want to ask you at home, do you read digital manga? If so, what devices do you read your digital manga on? And how are your thoughts and feelings towards physical versus digital? Okay, so I'll see you down there at the end of the video, but enough jibber jabber, I've been talking way too much. Let's go ahead and get the video started. I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so you can't have a discussion about comics, manga on the Nintendo Switch without talking about the fine folks over at InkyPen. InkyPen is an application you can find on the Nintendo eShop that primarily focuses on reading digital comics. However, through a deal made through Kodansha and Vertical, which we'll talk to in a second, they now offer some manga you can browse through. Now, launching back in 2018, InkyPen was actually kind of special because it was one of the first overall entertainment applications that wasn't a video game on the Nintendo eShop, aside from YouTube and some other video platforms I'm sure you all know the name of. So one thing that I really did get a chuckle out of was when you're looking under genres and you're trying to find InkyPen, it's actually listed under the lifestyle, utility, and other genre, and we all know as manga readers that reading manga is definitely a lifestyle. Now, InkyPen has actually taken the liberty to brand itself as the all-encompassing app on the eShop, the one-stop shop for all of your, digital comics and manga needs, having series from the biggest publishers all the way down to indie webcomics. Now, a partnership like this is actually pretty special and can mean a lot of different things for further partnerships in the future, not just with InkyPen, but other companies. We'll get to that in just a second. But this partnership brings a lot of heavy hitters onto the application itself, much like A To Your Eternity, Attack on Titan, Seven Deadly Sins, and one of my personal favorites, albeit it's not as popular as the previously mentioned series, Space Brothers. Okay, so Ron Huggard, who is the CEO of InkyPen, actually released a statement, and it goes something like this. I have it written right here. Our readers wanted manga, so we listened, and there's simply no bigger or better manga publisher than Kodansha. Okay, Ron. It's actually free to download, but upon downloading it, you're gonna be asked to create an account, and this is where I start having some problems with InkyPen. There is no trial period. If you want to create your account and you even want to browse their catalog to see if there's any manga titles that you would even want to read, it's gonna cost you a $7.99 entrance fee. That being said, from what I saw online, although nothing is confirmed, InkyPen is looking towards some sort of future where there will be a trial period, but that doesn't help you. Now, right off the bat, you can tell that InkyPen is marketing this towards the younger audience, of course. That being said, InkyPen is also taking note of the older audience, people my age and older that might actually have a Nintendo Switch and perhaps might find some sort of convenience by being able to read their favorite, titles of comics or now manga with their Switch, okay? And this is where some of the benefits of this app really start to come into play, at least in my eyes, right? There are some people who are my age who are now starting to become parents or have been parents for a while, and if their kid wants to have a Nintendo Switch, the console itself is pretty easy to set your parental locks on it, and it might be just worth the $8 to them to just simply have an ease of mind, like, hey, it's a subscription service, we know the parental thing is going, so they can't read anything that I wouldn't want them to read. Okay, so one interesting point that I was thinking about while writing this video out, there might be some overlap between comic owners, manga readers, comic readers, and Nintendo Switch owners. And let me know down below, let's just take a poll really quickly. Do you own a Nintendo Switch or not? And if you do, would you ever consider reading manga on your Nintendo Switch? And in this mindset, I feel like InkyPen is also marketing towards that specific audience, that specific niche where someone might be able to find some of their favorite series on this application and be able to eliminate some of their, let's say Kindles or tablets within their backpack and just be able to use their Nintendo Switch on the go. Would that actually work in real life and in real scenarios and in just like general day-to-day business? I'm not quite sold on that, as you will tell as this video progresses. Now, having a phone, you're gonna get more applications to read manga from, meaning bigger catalogs to choose from, more series, more chapters of those series. I only read digital manga pretty much. I mean, I've done it on my TV, I enjoy that, but I pretty much am only reading digital manga on an iPad. Now, before I go any further, I do want to have a little bit of a disclaimer. I can only speak from the perspective of a manga reader, so I'm sure that there's more benefits in InkyPen, as InkyPen mostly focuses on Western comics, and their catalog is much, much bigger and built out and more robust in that area. However, my community focuses more off of manga and anime, so I could just speak from that perspective, okay? So like I said before, the application itself is $7.99 per month once you get inside of the app, and it's actually very user-friendly, and it's quite easy to get to the manga section of InkyPen. Now, when I actually arrived in the manga section of InkyPen, I was genuinely surprised and a little bit over the moon with the selection that they had in their catalog, especially after only having these partnerships for a little over a year. I started to read 3 series, was Attack on Titan, Space Brothers, and one of my favorite sports series that you might not have heard me talk about a lot on this channel, Ace of Diamond. Now, unfortunately, this honeymoon phase did not last as long as I would hope, and this is why. Now, at first glance, I was actually shocked at some of the series I could find on InkyPen. Series that I've been meaning to read for a while, like July and April, Fuka, To Your Eternity, Ace of Diamond, Ajin was there, Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. There were a plethora of series that I was genuinely shocked to see, and it brought me a lot of happiness. Pun intended. However, the conundrum begins to occur when you actually start to read the series and quickly start to find out that there's not a lot of actual content there in terms of volume releases and chapters that are available for InkyPen's readers to dive into. Right, so let's talk about some examples, shall we? One series that I absolutely love and was happy to see on the InkyPen app was Ajin Demi-Human. Now, I collect this series physically, and I also have the latest English release physically at volume 16. So if I wanted to read Ajin on the InkyPen application, I could only read up to volume 4, which is pretty far behind the physical releases. Okay, so I know what you're thinking, Boogie, that was one example that you're cherry picking. What about more mainstream series or series that are blowing up right now, currently? And I hear you. Let's talk about To Your Eternity, which you can read on the InkyPen app. And you could only really read volume 1. So already there's no incentive for me to read To Your Eternity on the InkyPen app. It's only offering volume 1. Right, so for the final example, let's talk about a completed series on the app itself, one that I personally have purchased and binge read in its entirety recently. So I was over the moon when I saw that InkyPen had it. Let's talk about Happiness by Shuzo Oshimi. Now, in terms of volumes, the story of Happiness completes in 10 volumes, and much like To Your Eternity and Ajin, if you go into the InkyPen app, you could only read a handful of those volumes, at least at the time of recording this video. Now, on one hand, right now where it stands, I do not think that InkyPen is worth it from the manga reader's perspective. That perspective could change if you are also heavily into reading comics as well, Western comics as well. Things like this are exciting. Partnerships like these are exciting between InkyPen, Kodansha, and vertical. It's showing us that the market is moving in a way where manga is becoming more and more relevant to the fact where we're seeing these companies start to see the ROI on making partnerships like these and putting the money up front to get manga on these applications. I think the big win for our community is a video like this. This video might be found by a Nintendo Switch community here on YouTube, but it also will be found by my community and the manga community here on YouTube, essentially pulling more people together and getting manga in front of more faces. I think the $7.99 paywall is going to deter a lot of people, especially manga readers, who can read One Piece for $3 a month and basically so much more with the Viz Media app, or a lot of manga readers probably have a Crunchyroll subscription, and with that comes the ability to download the Crunchyroll manga app where you can already read series like Seven Deadly Sins, Attack on Titan, and a plethora more. I think the digital manga scene is actually quite robust right now and offers its readers a myriad of solutions and applications that they can put on their devices, and I think the Nintendo Switch competing with that is a good idea and exciting to see, but I don't see it being able to compete with the people that really just focus on manga right now. I mean, already alone it would be hard for InkyPen to, go up against Comixology, who does Western comics and manga, let alone places like, Bookwalker or the Crunchyroll app or the Viz Media app, where the price points can just get so utterly low, especially if you buy stuff on sale, or the Viz Media app is literally $3 a month. Now, another thing to consider here is that InkyPen only supports English natively, okay? And that this is the information coming from the Nintendo eShop. So if I were working at InkyPen, I would be working really hard to getting a lot more languages supported in the app. I mean, already they're eliminating, just by not having English supported on their app, so much of an audience. It is absolutely ridiculous. Let's say I wanted to read more of To Your Eternity and they only offered the first volume of To Your Eternity. I could not actually have the option to additionally purchase the rest of the volumes so that I can read them on my Nintendo Switch. It's just a little bit of an unfortunate thing happening, because if I were at InkyPen, I would want to keep my readers on the app for as long as possible, and this is not incentivizing me to do that if I can only read one volume of a series that is hot right now, currently releasing right now, and I can only read one volume. And on top of the entrance fee of $8 a month, I can't even buy the rest of the volumes that are out in English for an additional charge. I can't even do that. So not only does this not incentivize me to stay on the app in terms of reading time, it doesn't incentivize me to buy the app for any extended period of time. I think that if InkyPen wants to take it to the next step further, there needs to be a way for the users to build their own catalog and to be able to plan on when the next volumes are going to be released. I think there needs to be a lot more communication for me to even consider recommending it to my audience. InkyPen needs to be releasing schedules of things that they know that are gonna come out in terms of manga releases, because I know the manga community and we all love to know when things are going to come out. And it's gonna be a little disheartening for a manga reader who has been reading manga for a while and now wants to have this application on their Switch to read manga on the go, which is exactly how InkyPen is marketing it, if they can't plan on reading the latest release of some of their favorite series put out by Kodansha or Vertical. And what really sucks here is that I can't even tell you to try it through a trial phase and to see if you'll like it, because no trial phase exists. There's no trial period, there's no nothing. There's just this instant paywall to get into a catalog that honestly isn't the biggest, and when you dive into the series that you might want to read, you can't even get up to date with right now. And furthermore, I don't see much of any sort of constant communication or transparency coming from InkyPen on when next volumes will get released or next chapters will get released onto the application itself. But those are just my thoughts on the subject matter here, and let me know if I've missed anything down below in the comment sections. I'm interested to hear your thoughts, and let's go ahead and wrap things up. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and support the channel, go ahead and mash that like button down below. It lets me know that you are watching at home and I can continue to make more content just like this. And of course, as always, nothing has changed. If you'd like to stick around for more content, go ahead and mash that subscribe button. I would love to have you in the community. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good night.